it's actually very hard to know, I think, how much abusive research, the whole enterprise of subject protection, independent review, IRB, how much abusive research is actually being prevented by this system? And I think the answer is that we don't know. I think it may be impossible to know. I mean, it's a bit like military defense. How many attacks are we deterring out there with our military capability? How many did we, even when during the Cold War, what would have happened if we had had half the missiles that we had and half the submarine? Who knows, right? I mean, would we have been attacked? I don't know. It's, when your measure of success are the things that don't happen. It's not what does happen, it's what doesn't happen. Your measure is what's not happening that would have happened if we weren't doing this, right? I mean, that's the question, it seems to me, for research. And it's very hard to get to know. I mean, it could be like the magic effect of my ring, keeping the elephants away, right? You see any elephants around? It must be working. And that would be crazy, right? I mean, so see this IRB, this whole research subject protection enterprise? Do you see abusive research? No, there's actually relatively little. Well, so it must be working. Well, I mean, who knows? I think.
Well, that's a very frightening concept. That we may be just making ourselves feel better.
Well, I think, I don't think that's frightening, actually. I think part of what this whole system does, making feel better is one way to put it, but increasing societal trust in research, I think, is a better way of putting it, and I think that's perfectly legitimate. I mean, I think people are worried about it, and so if people are invited to participate in a trial, it gives them considerable comfort to know that it's been reviewed. Research depends upon public support, and NIH is a lot of money, and so public support for the entire enterprise of research is dependent on people's perceptions that it's proceeding in an ethical and careful way. So it may not be as much about the protection of the subjects as it is about the importance of the perception that subjects are protected. But that's important. I mean, that's not just a matter of making us feel better, I think. But I think that is part of it. Now, I think it's actually an interesting question, and I don't know that anybody's ever said as to why. I mean, when you think about the risks that people are willing to accept in life, risks of driving, risks of employment. One of my favorite examples is lobster fishing, which turns out to be a very dangerous activity. Logging, structural steelwork. People who enter casinos and put their financial well-being at risk. People take risks in life all the time. And when bad things happen to these people, we just accept, for the most part. That's just, well, you do lobster fishing, people are going to get hurt. Logging, structural steelwork, building tunnels, this is all dangerous stuff, and people die and get hurt. But when people are hurt in research, we react very differently. I mean, Jesse Gelsinger, so he died, it's like, oh my God, this awful thing happened. A person died in research. And actually, in that case, I think it was actually, death, in my view, shouldn't have happened. But I mean, people are hurt and die all the time. And And yet we react in the research context very differently. I actually think it's an interesting question as to why people's reactions are so different. I'm not even saying that they shouldn't be different, but I don't think we've asked this so much as to why it's different.